Good morning, still. We're a little bit behind on time. Maybe I can catch up a little bit. I won't give a long presentation, but a live view of the TAUS Data Association portal. Just a few background historic perspective here. In November 2004, also at a Localization World Conference, we had a roundtable meeting with IT companies that were kind of experimenting, you could say at that time, with machine translation technology. So early adopters got together in a room, 15, 20 companies roughly, and I had the honor of kind of moderating this session, and it was very enlightening, very useful for everybody. So they asked me to continue this kind of forum, and that's how TAUS, the Translation Automation Users Society, was established in February 2005. So about 5 years ago. And we held regular meetings, the executive forums with groups of 40, 50 people coming together, discussing use cases, best practices, technology, roadmaps, technology briefings all around machine translation, and we extended our agenda a little bit, discussing localization business innovation and other translation technologies. But very often after somebody would have made a presentation, the question came up, will you share your translation memories? Can I have your glossaries? So obviously, I mean, I'm talking 2006, 2007, through these years, it became apparent that the data are the key to success for translation technology to become really successful. And so I threw the question back to the audience, said, well, are you serious about it? Would you consider creating some kind of an industry database, an industry repository where we upload all of our translation memories? It makes sense, from the desktop, where the translation memory tools were first sort of being launched for the individual translator, to the enterprise server, kind of in the, mid-80s, early 90s. We went to the GMS, TMS systems, running the translation memories for the benefit of the enterprise, for the customer on the server. Now on to industry shared repositories. So everybody uploads their TMs. Well, that's kind of a challenge there, because we've invested in these assets, and could we just share them with everybody? But so we spent a couple of meetings discussing that over a period of, I guess, 18 months. But in July 2008, the decision was taken, the money was put on the table, funding was made available by about 40 founding members, and the TAUS Data Association was established. As a spin-off of TAUS, TDA, TAUS Data Association, is a not-for-profit industry driven industry sanctioned organization. So that's the background, and here we are today. This is the website of TDA, but let me just show you the the vision here. Implementing an industry vision. This is what we talked about at these founding meetings. And we broke some new ground. How do we deal with IP rights? What kind of services would you offer? Is this thing going to compete with the market? All of these questions came up. Obviously, if I share, will you share as well? I mean, that's still the most critical question. That's the sort of. But we settled on a kind of a principle of reciprocity. You upload data, you can download data. Actually, we have implemented sort of a factor 10. You upload 100 words, you can download 1,000 words. So 1 million words, 10 million words. So the more people start sharing, the more beneficial this whole thing will become. Currently, we're at 2.5 billion words. So from July 2008, the moment the association was formally established, founded, we started obviously first developing the platform, the infrastructure, getting the hosting contract in place with a cloud computing server company, and developing the basic services. which that was all done about a year later. And last summer, we had a free pooling period for the members to download as much as they liked, just to test the system, because this was a leap of faith. If we look back, 2.5 years, there was just anecdotal sort of stories there, like more data really helps. It helps in terms of terminology work, it helps in terms of leveraging, translation memory leveraging, and certainly helps in terms of training new engines or existing engines, making them better. But we had no hard evidence. So last summer we had a free pooling period, and all of the founding members were able to download as much as they liked and run tests with the data. And fortunately, we got proof that it really helps. Blue scores went up by 50%, leveraging went up by 25-35%, and the search turned out to be a very helpful tool for translators and support professionals and so on. So here we are about 9 months into operation, if you like. We have about 2.6 billion words in the system in more than 300 language pairs. As you can see, we have, we'd like to represent this as the super cloud for the translation industry. But we have all these mini clouds because the data are uploaded by the members. Actually, also the general public can upload data now. You don't have to be a member. You can share your TMs even if you're not a member. And you have to select an industry category. So we have quite a sort of a rich database. You have attributes for industry category. We have a placeholder for domain and sector, so you can go 2 levels deeper. Content type. So we do have an attribute for content type, language pair, obviously. Data owner, data provider. So it's data from trusted sources. You can always track it back. Where is it coming from? And we have a feedback loop. People can give comments on the data, on the individual terms, or on the translation memory files. And we have a rating system to see, which data are, performing best, or who likes the certain data best. So that's the industry vision. Now let me just take you for a moment, if you like, to the live site. So just a quick look of the founding members. Some familiar names. Some of the people here in the room represent some of the member organizations, actually. We have a total of about 70 members now, company members. We also have quite a few individuals, so professional members, translators can join. We're reaching out to everybody in the global industry and not just in the translation industry. Anyone can join as long as you agree to the data provider and pooling conditions. There is a very clear legal framework, respecting the IP rights, but the IP owners give full usage licenses to the downloaders of the data, so you can develop derivative work, so you can develop MT engines, you can use it to do translation leveraging. So it's basically to help the industry at large to produce translations faster, cheaper, and for all of us to be able to translate a lot more content, and we should certainly talk, Laurie, about how we can match up with Translators Without Borders, for instance. So the services currently provided clearly are services that do not compete with any sort of commercial offering in the market. That's not TDA's mission in life. Obviously, we just need to do what nobody else can do, and that is to be that industry-sanctioned body where all the data are being hosted. We have to provide intelligent access to the data. So one tool is this TAUS search, where anyone can it's a free public service, so it doesn't require membership or registration or anything. You can just look up a term. I don't know if people can see it in the back, but you can just go to tausdata.org and try it yourself. And as you can see, we use a lot of these open source tools, Giza++, Corpus Workbench, TreeTacker, and so we produce these computed translations. Unfortunately, we don't have multi-word translation yet, so you get a breakdown of the single terms with the most probable translation that is found in this database. And then you get all the context there, all the different sentences with the translation highlighted here. And here you can see the data owner. This one comes from eBay, and this one comes from EMC, and here from Sun Microsystems, Oracle these days. We have to adjust that. So you can see the data owner, and here you can report errors, as I said, a problem, and we'll be collecting the feedback. So a kind of a community crowdsourcing principle is embedded in the system as well. Let me just give you a quick look of the member services. I'm logged in now as a member, so this is not generally available to the public. But we have a TM sharing form. And there is a public extension of that. Anyone can go online and upload the data. You have to agree to the data provider and pooling conditions, again, respecting the IP rights. Then you can upload your TM. And then here's the data pooling form, so you can, for instance, let's look up English, French again. And then you can see, takes a moment. Have I lost my connection? No, there's 66 million words in English, French. Now that may be way too much for you to download. So now you say, I'm really active in computer software. So let me see what is available in computer software. And then now you're down to 22 million words. And here are the companies that have submitted data in computer software, English, French. So now, for instance, you say, let me just take data from EMC Corporation. You see there is other member feedback or user feedback on this data, so the quality sort of monitoring. And here we're down to 6.5 million words. So you could now say, I download this, or you go further in your selection, product line, data provider, and so on. And then you can export it. It's all based on TMX standard, so you can now download this file and import it in your own translation editor, or strip out the TMX tagging and use it for machine translation training. Obviously, I'll go back to the presentation now. There's lots of stuff that we can do to improve it. So as I said, the TM sharing services, the search, the benefits. I'll skip that just for the sake of time, but we have members who say, well, just the search already gives us a return on investment here for our member fees. The TM sharing, I mentioned that already. The free pooling period proved that the members do get significant benefits out of this. So people use the data for terminology, for translation memories, and for machine translation training. And translation memory, it's fair to say that a lot of the generally used translation memory tools today are not scalable enough for the high volume data that you can use from the TDA repository, or they don't have the kind of advanced, what we call advanced leveraging capabilities, like in-segment phrase-based leveraging or corpus-based leveraging. So there is some work to be done in the industry, but I think that was needed anyway. The translation memory tools are so behind in terms of where the industry is heading. So most people today use it for terminology, the search, the free service, and for machine translation training. About 1/3 of our members have downloaded significant volumes already to start training machine translation engines with overall very good results. But it leads to sort of ideas for new features and services, and there, again, it's not our intent to become a commercial kind of entity that, steps into areas where lots of, other companies are sort of active. But, I'm just looking at a few things here. We are in the terminology area looking at adding the multi-word translation, obviously. That's a very simple one. A synonym search, purely on statistical basis, identifying related terms and seeing them in the list, and then being able to translate those terms. We've done some analysis with TDA members working in exactly the same domain. More than 50% in a particular case of their terminology was different in German. In this case, we looked at German, although relating to the same concept. So the market is getting confused. If we have synonym search, we'll be able to tag those terms and find them back anyway. I will just skip that further and look at the survey we've done. We've done a public consultation. Probably some of you have helped us also figure out what we should put on our roadmap. The members certainly did. This is a summary of the members' votes on some of the new features that they like us to add. And look at the numbers in the right. The number one feature that needs to be added is TM cleaning. Not that our data are not clean. They come from trusted sources. They're translation memory files, but people have different ideas about what is clean, and there we have to have some kind of a flexible system that we filter out certain tags, that we filter out certain symbols or characters, and so on, to make them cleaner. Also, we'll be adding again a statistical tool that identifies suspicious translations. So based on alignment dictionaries that will be extracted from all of the TM-mix files in the database and alignment dictionary extracted from the uploaded TM, comparing those, we'll get a match. It's actually kind of similar to the matching score feature that's there. That's another high priority because people use that top-down categorization, like my data is in financial, my data is telecommunications, but there is no TM file that's unambiguously in that particular industry. Like, we obviously have the EC data in the database, and we've categorized it as professional services, or as legal actually, but it has a lot of financial data, a lot of other data in there. So the matching scores again will be based on a statistical tool to identify the data that are most proximate to your own TMs that you're uploading. So we think adding that feature will be a tremendous help for anyone who's active in translation leveraging and in MT training. So that's kind of what's on the roadmap. Everything we're using is practically already open source, but we're adding some code here and there, of course, to knit it all together. All of that will also be made available in under an open source license. So some people already said TAUS Data Association becomes like a TAUS Technology Association. Tools like the the TM cleaning and matching scores will also be available to anyone to download or to use in their own environment, and we invite them to help us making these features better under that open source kind of agreement. And we invite members or non-members to help us sponsoring and funding the development of these features. So we invite all of you to just use the TAUS search. There's an API available, so you can also integrate the TAUS search in your own tool, in your own website platform. So you don't need to go to tausdata.org, but you can go straight from your own tool. It's freely available. Obviously, we hope that everybody will start sharing the translation memories. Our goal for end of this year is 5 billion words, and next year 10 billion words. And as far as we're concerned, there's no limit. This is the super cloud of the translation industry for translation. There are other data repositories that focus on other areas. Our area is very, very focused on helping the translation industry. And you're welcome to join. It's quite cheap, actually, remarkably. Thank you.
Many thanks.